Hello, and welcome to an interview with this beautiful, amazing, intelligent yoga teacher, medical professional, and holistic coach, Emily. Emily, hello, thanks for being here today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Emily, it has been both a blessing and an honor and a pleasure to be in your journey and watch you completely transform over the years. And if we could just start getting right to the point for people with what was your challenge or your pain when we first got together for coaching?
My biggest challenge when I started coaching was knowing my worth. For my entire life, I've been told, do this profession, you'll get paid this money, this is what you need to do, this is where you belong. It was finding my confidence and my worth and knowing and learning and knowing that I was worth so much more than what I was told to believe.
So what were you doing that wasn't serving you, that was, what was the result of you not knowing your worth? How was that showing up in your life?
It was showing up everywhere. It showed up in my career. We're told you're going to only make this much money or this much money, or we're going to pay you this, and there's no negotiating. It was showing up in my marriage, my relationship, because I was showing up small. I wasn't showing up as me and the great woman that I am. And it was definitely showing up as being a mom. I was overworked, overstressed, burned out, exhausted, and I was not showing up as a good mom or even a great mom, and not the mom that I wanted to be for my daughter.
And has this shifted now?
It's totally different now. I have my little one right here. She's eating an apple off camera. I'm now able to be home with her more often because I know my worth and my value. I left my corporate healthcare job where I was treated like a number. My patients were treated like a number, and I didn't want that. And I went out on my own and started coaching other healthcare professionals who were experiencing the same thing I am or have been through. And then my job asked me back. So I do both because I can show that you can balance both in life. And my marriage we communicate better now than we have in the last 3-4 years.
So what do you think? So you were overworked, exhausted, burnt out in your career. It was showing up in your with your daughter as not being the mother you want to be, not having the love and communication, and not that there wasn't love, but it wasn't the marriage that you were to the level of fulfillment that you wanted. And now you're saying all those things have changed, and life is different. So what shows up different in your life? Like, what are some examples of some things that you've done, or and then I'll ask you some more questions about the job, because I know you shared that you left your job and came
to I have traveled more this year in 2022 than I think I ever have in my entire life. I have swam in both the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean this year. I guess you could say, swam in both Lake Michigan and Lake Superior. We went all summer camping, my family and I, just going wherever we wanted to go and doing more traveling that way. My husband and I finally went on a vacation alone without my daughter, and we went to Puerto Rico for 5 days. That was beautiful and wonderful. And then I've also been on 3 different yoga retreats this year, just this year. So I've gained so much experience and seen so much traveling. With my daughter, I get to spend more time with her. We spend every Friday going to the library for story time. We go to a play group, but we also hang out at home too.
Would you have thought any of that were possible 2 years ago?
No, I thought I was trapped. I thought this was as good as it gets, and I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's important to say that because there might be people watching right now that are thinking, oh, it sounds great that Emily did this, had stress and now she's having this great life, but that's not possible for me.
Mhm.
How would she, like, they probably, maybe some thoughts going through people's heads could be like, is she just suddenly, has the finances or something just changed for her? Like what changed for you? How were you able to do this? And could other people do the same?
I got so sick and tired of the way I was living and the way I was working that I just knew I had to make changes. And I didn't wake up one night and my life was changed overnight. It was steady changes and steady choices that led to all this greatness that's been manifested finally. And
Yeah.
more is still to come. So
And how did that happen? Like, how did you manifest this completely different like experience in life within a year or two?
um, I took the limits off of myself. I was always believing that this is the way it has to be and this is the way you have to work. And I just decided, you know what, that's not going to be for me. I've never wanted that. Why am I settling? So I am the one who decided to make the changes and the choices.
How did you take those limits off? Would you be able to do that on your own?
There was no way, because I couldn't see another way out. There was no way I could see another way out.
So what would you say made the difference? Was it being in a coaching program or
It
what?
was definitely coaching, seeing a different perspective, seeing a different way to live, seeing freedom and flexibility, but still, in living, it was example and coaching.
And just to share with everyone, they're taking limits off of yourself and finding a new perspective cannot be minimized because you see a certain way that you've seen for your whole life, right? Like they're habitual mind patterns that we get really used to, and we get caught up in our way of thinking, and it doesn't seem possible that you could think another way. And it really does take a third party to come in and say, but what if you could do something completely different? What if you could recreate your life in such a different way? And I just want people to know that that is possible for all of us, and each day is a new opportunity. If you are curious and learning about manifesting, I do want to take this opportunity to share that I have Manifest Live coming up a week from tomorrow, and you can go to manifestwithtara.com. And please do put in the time and energy and join us. Emily will be there. I'll be there. It's an interactive workshop that we have online for a few days, and your life is completely different at the end of it. So you would learn exactly where you're putting limits in your place, gain a whole new perspective, a clear roadmap to next steps to take, and really leave feeling refreshed and inspired. And that can't be minimized either, because a set of inspiration or a dose of inspiration is what makes all the difference in the actions you take and how you create your life. Do you have anything to share about that or your experience with manifesting, or even with our events?
Manifesting. I could go on and on about manifesting.
That's so much fun.
It's so much fun, but it starts with that. It starts with having the intention to dream, taking the limits off of your dreams, and creating the life that you want. It's a whole lot of manifesting. It's the best part.
I love it too. I feel like I can just hang out and manifest and then watch it come to fruition. It is a bit of a magical process, but putting the time to do it, your life doesn't just happen. And I think so many of us think, why doesn't life change? But we have to be the ones to step in and make that change, and really be willing to take a step to go and get support. Like, not because we're weak, but because we are so strong that I work with very strong, stubborn women, because we're so strong and we see things a certain way. Like, the stronger the woman, the more, we need other strong women around us to help us to see other ways than what we've seen ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So speaking of strong, as a very strong woman yourself, I remember when we first started working together that you had some very strong beliefs in the way that things should be and the way you had to live and the way that everything you needed to have all your ducks in a row in a certain, if I could say it in that terminology, in a certain way, uh, almost a rigidity about how you had to live and how maybe no one else could understand or I couldn't understand, um, that you couldn't just make these changes I was suggesting. Does that ring true for you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now I really see this totally different Emily. Like you're not, to use the word rigidity is definitely a huge thing of the past. I don't see that in you really at all anymore. It's like slowly lifted.
The
I
super type A. The super type A.
And now I see this woman in flow and ease and confidence and calm as you like glide through your life with more success and motherhood and, the time for motherhood, the time for you, the anniversary to Puerto Rico with you and your marriage. I mean, so many great things. So let's talk a little about your career changes and what that looked like.
Mhm.
So what was the picture of just specific about your career? What was that like before?
So I work in healthcare, and I don't have to explain that it's been very dynamic since 2020. Um, it was a job that I loved, and it was a job that I never saw myself leaving until, like every good job, you get bought out again. And um, the job that I loved, the company that I loved, was no longer the culture that it used to be, and I got tired of the culture. And um, I was expected to work very, very long hours. I had a very high productivity, and I had no benefits, no paid time off, and I was a part-time employee. And I was a part-time employee working almost 40 hours a week. I thought, like, what the hell am I doing for part-time? Why am I working so hard?
Yeah. And why did you not make a change earlier on your own?
Because I didn't think there was any way out. I didn't think there was any way out. I thought I would have to go from this part-time job to this part-time job, or I'd have to go from this part-time job to a full-time job, and just making a lateral move that would end up just being the same after a couple years.
Yeah. And that's exactly what most people do. They, trade in their current reality for an extra week of vacation or an extra $10,000 a year and find that life's really not that much better, that much different in a similar scenario. And it's really this recreating of our mind patterns, of our mindset, and this rebuilding or look at our life in the world. And I know, and I think I love that your sweet daughter is on with us because I think this is the beauty of knowing you can be in business and still be a mother. You can be like in tune with your feminine side and still making amazing things happen in the world, not having to do one or the other.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do it all the time.
Yeah. And sometimes if your daughter pops on the screen, like it's fine. I love it. This is real life.
Totally fine.
This is why we're live. So this is real life. Yeah. So then you left your career because you were on the point of maybe burnout, we'll say.
Oh, I
And
was burned out for sure.
you're
Yes.
burned out. And then you took the time away. And I recall that you were really mixed in your emotions on that. That was a hard step for you. So maybe just share why that was hard, because other people might be going through the same kind of thing.
I still find a lot of value in what I do as a healthcare professional. I love my patients. I love what I do for their families. And I had, and I do now again, have the best coworkers in the world. We all have each other's backs. And I didn't want to leave that. And I didn't want to leave my coworkers behind either. And so it was a hard decision for me.
I think we have a certain loyalty to the people we work with, to the patients or the clients, or depending on your profession, and even the company. Even if we don't like them, there can be not only a loyalty to all of these different people that have become such an integral part of our life, but also it's an identity. Like, this becomes who you are. And it's really perplexing and even scary to let go of that. Like, I remember my own experience in corporate was leaving. It was like, that's where I received all my awards and accolades, and to
And
leave
all
that,
your
like,
self-confidence boost.
sure. And it gave me like value and that worthiness that you're talking about. But what the magic that can happen when you realize like you're worthy, and with or without it. So then you left and you spent the summer traveling and camping and having fun with your husband, time with your daughter, but you still had this yearning to do your work. How have you managed now to find this perfect balance that everyone wants, where you can do like time for you and yoga, time for motherhood, taking Bianca to whether it's the library or time at home, time for your marriage, time for travel, like, and a professional life and living your purpose? Like, you're really doing it all. So how is that possible?
I have, because I know my worth and I know and I finally have confidence in myself, I can set the boundaries or the expectations that I want and I need. I work my other job a couple days a week because that's what I can fit in. I work my coaching business on the side too, and I work that in with my clients in my schedule. And then I've also started a YouTube channel for wellness, holistic wellness, and I work that in when I've got time for it too.
So so Emily went back to her career, but with a couple of days a week now, so much less hours.
A real part-time job.
A part-time job, and making more money.
And making more money.
As a result. And making additional supplemental income as a coach. And what kind of coach are you? Can you share a little about that?
So I'm a life coach, and I help, I guide the burned out, stressed out healthcare professional, just like I was, to living that life of having confidence, having everyday ease, and then also creating a future that you're excited about.
Awesome. And what is your YouTube channel so people can follow you?
It is Abundant Wellness with Emily.
Abundant Wellness with Emily.
Mm-hmm.
So check out Emily on Abundant Wellness with Emily on YouTube, on Facebook. She's on all the social media channels if people want to follow you. Anywhere else they should follow you?
Instagram. You can also find me on Instagram.
Awesome. And if you're a burned out medical professional, she is your girl to help you she understands because she's been there and she has created the change. And there was another training that you did with me that I know you use in your work today. Maybe you should share a little about that background as well, because it's something that really helps.
My yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of what I incorporate in with my coaching and my YouTube channel is what I learned through my yoga teacher training. So I kind of like to say that I use Eastern healing philosophy for the Western healer, because Eastern medicine and Western medicine is very different, but they both have a place in this world, I believe, and they can heal you physically, mentally, energetically, all of them. So I use what I've learned from my yoga teacher trainings and from my professional job, and I bring them together.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Obviously, I love using the philosophies of the ancient studies and practice of yoga as well in helping people find deep level fulfillment and happiness. And I know you do too, because it is a practice that has so many answers within it, and that our Western world isn't exposed to nearly enough. And even those that are really into yoga, they might go and experience this in a good feeling in a class, but we get to go deeper with people through the coaching work and really explore how those practices can take them and recreating their life. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
and that yoga is
Go
so
ahead.
much more than taking a class at a studio. It can be integrated in all of your life.
Well, I want to just thank you so much for doing the work that you do to help people, and for having the courage and bravery and even vulnerability to go to the challenging places you've had to go. It's not easy to create change when you're going through transformation. It's growth is actually, it's a challenging process, and you come up against the hardest opponent of all, which is yourself, right? Like your own fears, your own challenges, your own vision of yourself. So thank you for doing that work. Thank you for trusting me in it, because now you are able to help so many women and men that really need you, and need support. And it's really amazing that you can. And thank you for being there to be an example to your daughter and be the best version of you, so she can experience that as she grows up. I mean, I think so many mothers give so much of themselves to their daughters, but then they end up stressed out and short with their kids, and it's understandable because they're, pushing themselves too hard. But getting back to that importance of when you take care of you actually have more love, more to give
You're
everyone
able to
else.
give more and be intentional with your gifts.
Yeah, and say a little more about that. What does that mean to be intentional with your gifts?
So a year ago, I was just going through the motions, and I was writing pretty much the same plans of care, and everybody looked like the same type of patient. And now that I've come back, and I have more intent, a better intention. I'm okay. Yep. And I can see each patient, and I can see their families, and I can see their needs, and I'm better able to help them and their families, to help them regain their independence after whatever happened for a hospitalization. You can't pour from an empty cup, and if your cup is empty, you can't pour into those who are ill, who are injured, who are vulnerable. Okay. So it's extremely important that those of us in medicine need to build ourselves up and fill up our own cup before we go to work and give it to everybody else. And then we come home and we're expected to give more, and then kids go to bed. We've got nothing left for our spouses or our significant others, or even for ourselves.
For our kids. Like, yeah, the average American family has 10 minutes to sit down and do homework with their kids throughout the night, besides dinner and dishes and just settling in and talk about time for each other. It's just, it's really sad that we've created that reality. And I think a pandemic has actually been a support system in having people look at how do we really want to live now, and what really matters, and this recreating of life, and coming from even a spiritual perspective is helping to change things. But people like you that are stepping into your purpose and making the difference are such an integral part of the change that this planet is in need of. So yeah, thank you for being that example. I'm sure your husband and daughter will be grateful. But it's not even just your family, like Emily just said. It's also like her patients, her clients. Like, you can pour more love into them when you have taking care of yourself. I am number one. And then, even though you might have had guilt or might make you feel selfish, it's actually, then people don't have to worry about your depression, your anxiety. They don't have to be always giving to you, taking care of
You
you.
have to walk on eggshells because you've had a very long day.
Right. Like, it's not selfish. It's actually opportunity to be better to people around you. So something a lot of our mothers and grandmothers did not grow up with in their generations. So we get to be the change and spread this message and help empower others, men and women, to really follow your heart in life and love. Discover your purpose. If you don't know what it is, it's time to find it, and really create the financial freedom, the time freedom, and ultimately the life that you want to live, whether it's travel or whether it's not, whether it's your own business or whether it's, a profession for somewhere else, or whether it's not working. It's just, getting clear on what that is and taking actions that I think support that. And that is that's one thing we're really strong about in our mastermind program that you've been in. So Emily did come to one of my events long ago, and we connected. She eventually joined a coaching program, and she's embarked on a second year in a coaching program now because it's making such a difference in her life. I am beyond like grateful and fulfilled because seeing you rise, seeing you successful, seeing you happy is what brings me success and happiness, very sincerely. Look at that. Look at that.
Mm.
A little cutie. So with that, I will just say I know it was courageous of you, and it took a lot of trust. You had to trust in yourself. You had to trust in me in the coaching program, and you had to trust that there is a higher vision for you and that you're getting universal support. So I would say that to anyone out there.
Hey, Mom, guess what?
Courageous. Who would you recommend one of our coaching programs or events to anyone? And if so, who would you recommend it for or to?
To the person who feels stuck, who feels trapped, who feels that there's no other way to live, and who is really struggling with their worth. Because everyone is worth so much more than what they're told or expected to believe.
Awesome. So if that describes you, please do connect with us on transformationtarot.com. And if you are watching this live or shortly after in just over a week from today, a week from tomorrow, it is worth your time to come to our online event. You can join from anywhere in the world. And that is our Manifest Live that we only do once a year. It's one of my absolutely favorite events because we see so much transformation take place over a few days. You will absolutely release the blocks, heal from old wounds that you might not even know are there, gain a new perspective, and break free from old mind patterns that hold you back, because that's really where a lot of this starts. And make sure to follow Emily Clark on Abundant Wellness with Emily. She's amazing. And thanks for being with us today.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Okay. Bye. Say bye, Bianca. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Take care of yourself. Do what you need, and let other strong women be there to support you, because you deserve the best life. Okay. With love. Tuning out.